They did originally, they were like, all right, C8, new body style. We don't want to be too greedy, so we're going to drop it at like 65 grand.
Right.
I don't know if people are going to buy this. And immediately it went up in flames, and everybody was buying them left, right. And they're like, oh, crap, we got to raise the price. So then whatever year Corvette C8 is now like 90 grand, and they jumped it like 20, 30 grand. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, this makes way more sense.
Real cars, real guys, and real talk. Live from the gearbox at Unique Classic Cars. Welcome to Motorhood. All right, as promised, we are checking in with Jeremy, who has left us 2 episodes in. So guess what? You get to meet Dylan, our producer today. You're going to be a regular here anyways.
Yeah, I'm usually here. I'm just kind of stepped a little bit behind the cameras instead of in front, but, you know, in front, behind, whatever, same difference.
But somebody's got to be freezing up here in Mankato, Minnesota, while Jeremy's down there enjoying the warm sunshine in Scottsdale, Arizona. What's happening down there?
Yeah, if you could kind of hurry up with the intro. I'm standing with my back to the sun. I'm kind of getting hot here, so if you can kind of keep this moving, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, don't worry about it. So you're down there for Barret-Jackson, right? We had talked about this earlier in the week. How's the week going? You missed, by the way, the Sammy Hagar concert on Friday night.
Yes, I know. We couldn't leave when the concert was, but I've heard some of the folks I've talked to down here went to it, and to be expected. It sounded like it was a pretty good time.
Are you a tequila fan?
Not really.
Really?
I'll have some, but I don't. It's not on my. I don't walk into a place and order it. No.
No. Well, it's the good stuff. You and I were having a discussion last week after we wrapped our first podcast about some of the finer beverages, and it's kind of like good scotch. Once you get into good tequila, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, I've got an uncle that's he's into whiskey and the tequila stuff, and I got a lot to learn from him on the tequila stuff. He knows his stuff, and so I'm a little scared.
Dylan, we haven't even asked you, what's your preferred beverage when it comes to adult beverages?
What's an adult beverage?
Something that contains alcohol.
Oh, yeah. No, I normally just stick to just some staples. I'm not too fancy. I did recently get into Moscow Mules.
Really?
Those are pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing. You have the copper mug, and you look at it, and you're like, does that actually make it taste better? And it really does, George. I don't know how it's
Dylan,
magic.
Does that hit the board, Jeremy?
Yeah,
he's
not wrong.
You know what board I'm talking about?
No, they don't hit your board.
Oh, are you talking about the least masculine thing that George says?
Dude, he was drinking out of a copper mug because it tastes better.
It's a mule.
Yeah, but that's not his fault. That's a thing.
I'm telling you. Yeah, well,
asking me to feel my shirt, that's not a thing.
That is. The fabric was fantastic, by the way, and it had the little glass cleaner inside like we had talked about.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I hear you.
What's happening down at, what have you seen at Barret-Jackson? Anything fun down there so far?
Well, yeah, there's, they've got nearly 2,000 cars here that are going to run through the sale over the course of the next, the duration, it's 9 days long or whatever it is. So, there's always something crazy. There's customs, there's, all kinds of restored vehicles and one-offs and it's crazy. So I've, as of this recording, I've bought 3 cars so far, and, there's a few more I got my eye on, and, we'll see if we can bring them back to the showroom there and help them find a new home.
Is there any of them that you would like to talk about right now?
I could give you a sneak peek. One of them's a 56 Ford Crown Victoria Sunliner, which means it's got the glass roof in it. And that's got a new crate motor in it. It's that car's gonna be pretty cool. And then there is a I know last week we talked about the square body trucks. How about a square body Blazer? Those are pretty freaking sweet. We got one of those coming that's got an LS motor in it. And there's one other one that I don't know if that's going to be available to the public. That might end up in my garage, but we'll talk about that another day.
So what's your plans for the rest of the day?
So we're going to have lunch here quick. There may or may not be an adult beverage that you mentioned involved here shortly. And then, we're going to the Collective Soul concert tonight. And then tomorrow we'll be at Barrett all day. So if anyone's listening, any of our clients and friends, look for me. We'll have a drink and talk talk cars and everything. I've already ran into several people. It's so fun. You get to run into folks that are like, hey, I bought my Firebird from you 2 years ago, and is Jeff still there? And all these things. So just like I said at during the last podcast, it's really fun to see the people, eat the people, and sit around and literally live, eat, and breathe this car culture. It's fantastic.
And doing it in the warm sunshine versus we woke up to 5 below here this morning.
Well, when I left, it was minus 17, and it is currently right at 60 here right now. And it's funny, all the locals are sitting under all the patio heaters, and we're like, sitting here with our shirts off pretty much because we're from Minnesota, and that's what we do. So
we miss you, and I'm going to tell you why. I got in trouble with Dylan, add that to the list of the least masculine things George has ever said. Let's get that recorded right now. I miss you. Wow. Oh, well, you want to know why I got into trouble with the mechanics again?
You did? How'd you do that?
We had a Super B out. I was like, you know what? That has got a great sound to it. Why don't you climb on in and give it a rev? I'm going to get some B-roll for this. And immediately they come flying from out back. You don't do that to a big block.
Yeah, right.
So I didn't even get to really get started. So that's another no-no.
Oh, gotcha.
Just add that to the list. For the past couple of months, I've basically had to grab Mandy and our HR girl Elena to just get an escort through that shop, so I don't wind up missing. Well, we look forward to you coming back, man, and I can't wait to see some of these cars and hear more about Barrett, and you and I will be chatting again next week.
It'll be fun. Dylan, thanks for setting in, and we'll see you when we get back.
Sounds good, boss. Talk to you later.
Well, there we go. He's down there in the warm sunshine. You and I are up here, and we can basically talk about anything we want.
Anything.
Let's talk about some Gran Turismo.
Oh, that's a good segue.
Tell people. The funny thing is, when you brought that up and you told me how big of a fan you were, I was like, that's the one game that I like to play.
Well, and it's not even because I didn't used to play Gran Turismo a ton. It's just this latest one, GT7, is the current one on the PlayStation 5 and whatever. I recently came across a listing on Facebook Marketplace and had a whole rig with a steering wheel and the seat and the chassis and all of that. And it was $450, which is that's basically a steal.
Dude, I have looked, when I started digging into that, there are some configurations out there that are tens of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
So
yeah.
What do they have that your configuration doesn't?
It's kind of the thing, and I warned the boss about it, because as soon as I put him into there, I was like, oh yeah, I know. As soon as I see him, so basically what ended up happening is anything to do with racing simulators,
sure,
is just a bottomless pit. Do you want a brake pedal, or do you want a brake pedal that pushes back against you at certain intervals at different velocities and has interchangeable springs and blah blah blah, just for one pedal? $5,000.
That's crazy.
And that's just one pedal. And again, you could have the whole suite. You could have the gas pedal do that, the brake pedal, obviously clutch pedals, whatever. But really, the main thing is the wheels. The wheels are the part that it gets really stupid, because you can have gear-driven wheels, which is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's just teeth or whatever, and you can kind of feel it. On the cheaper ones, you can actually feel the teeth.
You're talking about the steering wheel.
Yep, the steering wheel.
Right.
Yep. So then you move up a little bit, and then you work into direct drive, which is basically a belt, and that way, But it's crazy. People spend dumb money on that stuff just for the simulation aspect. And at the end of the day, somebody who has a $10,000 rig could just as easily lose to somebody with a $450 rig.
Because it's all about the drive.
Yeah, it's how you drive.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I know that Jeremy is also getting into this. Was that his first taste when you got your setup?
It was in that, yeah. So what I did is I was like, okay, so I got this new thing. Before you can play with a controller, you could always could.
That's the way I played, yeah.
Yeah, and basically what I ended up doing is I showed it to him, and I said, hey, this is just a racing sim. I'll just throw you in a car, do some hot laps, just by yourself. Don't have to deal with any other people or players or NPCs or whatever. Yeah, he threw it into a corner at 140 miles an hour. Granted, it was Laguna Seca. But he did that about 6 times. And I kept telling him, I'm like, listen, there on the actual UI, you can see that there's like what gear you are, and then next to it, it'll show the red gear, what gear you should be in the next turn.
Right.
Yeah, when it says 4 and the red one says 1 and you're flying into a hairpin, yeah, I don't think he won the hairpin.
Some of those configurations, and I'm not kidding, I've seen some in that $50,000 and $60,000 range. You could come into our showroom and buy a really nice car for that.
Yeah, and that's kind of the weird thing where it's like you're either changing, well, to that regard, technically speaking, a sim can be whatever you want it to be. It can be any car. You can swap between cars.
Sure.
But granted, a physical car is, a vehicle,
yeah.
Transportation and all that whole bag. So yeah, it's Gran Turismo is super fun, and then you can do races, you can customize your cars, upgrade your cars, do whatever you want, play online with your friends, tournaments, and there's a whole esports scene where people are actually like racing for money in like tournaments and all that, and like it goes beyond me. I just race for fun.
What's your favorite car
in that game to race?
In the game,
currently I have a pretty sweet 2017 GTR Nismo. That one's pretty well kitted out, but GTRs are GTRs.
In our showroom right now, and I asked you this, if you were going to pick one car out of here and you were going to drive it, it was going to be a driver, not something for a collection, which would you take off the floor? Now,
and that's kind of a trick question, because every car you could technically drive. It's just how much do you want to enjoy it and how much do you want to get pulled over?
Are you a straightforward, fast guy or a suspension and handling guy?
That's a really good question.
Because I'm a suspension and handling guy.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because most of the guys down in the sales department, they like suspension and handling as well, but they're more of the A to B, 0 to 60, quarter mile type stuff, right? I prefer to get out and really enjoy the road.
Well, and it's crazy. Excellent point, because exactly, your car can go however fast, but how are you going to turn?
Yeah.
How are you going to stop?
Right.
Those are good questions to ask before you jump in.
When I was selling, I was like, always make sure you take them through a roundabout, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to feel at that point what that's like, and then get them out, kick them down, drive them 66 miles an hour versus 65. There's rumors going around, because our last episode we talked about, speaking of track-based cars, last summer we had a Mustang GT350 with a 2-stage Whipple, and that had the track package in it before they started adding it to all of them, which I think was the following year or the year after that. But I took that out on 14, and that sealed the deal for me. By the way, I'm talking about Highway 14, which is an open road here in southern Minnesota. You got some nice straight stretches and a few nice curves in there, and that sold me on suspension and handling.
Yeah,
at incredibly high speeds.
At 66.
If you get it up high enough and you get that car going fast enough, it was like driving a spaceship. Mm-hmm. It was kind of quiet, right? And the aerodynamics and everything else, just, I'm sold. So if I were to take a car off our showroom floor and I was going to have one daily driver for summer, I would probably go through our Shelbys. And I'm not a Mustang guy. I wasn't when I started here. I told your dad, I was like, you know what? When I first started here, if you would have walked me into the showroom, I would have probably walked over to the Corvettes, because they're fun to drive. They look super cool. And if you get the right years, they're somewhat affordable. You like the C8s, the new ones.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a Corvette guy, and it in a weird way, I was really into the C7s, and then the C8 kind of switched it up with the mid-engine and all that, and it is cool, but like I just feel like they just dropped the C7 model like super fast. I mean, shit, you saw C6s for a really long time. Same thing with the C5s. Like, you just saw that classic slope body style with the chopped off rear end, and it just kind of stayed forever. And then the C7 just felt like it came and went. Then they're like C8, which, by the way, they did originally. They were like, all right, C8, new body style. We don't want to be too greedy, so we're going to drop it at like $65,000.
Right.
I don't know if people are going to buy this. And immediately it went up in flames, and everybody was buying them left, right. And they're like, oh crap, we got to raise the price. So they had to make like an announcement. They're like, Chevrolet was basically like, okay, so the new whatever year Corvette C8 is now like 90 grand, and they jumped it like 20, 30 grand, and everybody's like, oh yeah, this makes way more sense.
That's still a lot of car for the price.
It is crazy, yeah. And they built it directly to, to directly compete against like the Ferraris in that price range with the mid-engine and whatever, and it speaks for itself. That's why people were buying them like hotcakes.
Right. I had a client in Virginia that I worked with. He was a Ferrari Porsche guy, and he told me the C8s are about as close as you're going to get to that kind of performance, and he even enjoyed it, actually, for the longer rides better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite the car. I mean, it's super comfortable ergonomically, anyways, and it's a vast improvement over, I would say, like the C4s.
Well, I mean, you're jumping 4 generations, but I mean, yeah.
Right, but but those are the affordable vehicles, right? When you get back into, you can get a really nice Corvette here, and I know when now that spring is coming up, you and I both know that there's going to be a line of about probably 20 of them sitting on one of the aisles here in the showroom, and I do have appreciation for them all. I really do.
Yeah, they're good entry-level Corvettes, and that's kind of why the appeal of them, because everybody, and that's the same thing, where C4s were along a long time. There was just a bunch of those, and the C4 is kind of during the plastic front and rear end era. Right. So that's kind of, people know that, but they know what they're getting into, and that's why you can get into them at that range. Obviously not the whole car's plastic. I mean, like the front and rear clip, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I can tell you this, if you're looking at a C4, grab the steering wheel and see if there's a little give and shake there, because guys use it to climb in and out of the vehicle.
It is absolutely hysterical that you bring that up, because I was telling somebody, your co-host, Jeremy, he, same thing with the sim rig. Go all the way back to the Gran Turismo thing. So in the sim rig, it's, you have its seat and you have the steering wheel in front of you. What do you think he uses as his mounting post when he gets in the seat?
The steering wheel.
Yeah. I'm like, what is this, a C4 Corvette? What are you doing? And you just brought it up naturally. I did not prime that. I did not prime that.
I know.
And it's literally every single time. I had like 7 people. I had some family come over and do that. Every single one. Hand right on the top of the wheel. I'm like, oh, okay, listen. Right. I'm not being any sort of way. Just grab just to the left or just to the right of the wheel. Right. I don't need you to put all your weight on this literal plastic steering wheel that's strapped to a piece of steel.
And if you think it does that to an actual car, you could imagine that would do it to a piece of electronic equipment. But we're looking forward to Jeremy coming back, and you're going to find yourself in front of the camera here more often than you thought.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, I said when we started this, we need a third mic, and we will, right? Because it took a lot to get to this point, right?
That's an understatement.
It was a lot of work, and we do want to add a third mic and kind of bring in some of the other guys from around the shop, because I told Jeremy is what really makes this place special is all the people that work here.
No, absolutely.
It is. It's the customer service, and I know that when guys are buying cars, especially when they're halfway across the country, they want to talk to somebody they can trust, specifically if they're going to make a flight out here. Or I've sold cars to guys that have never met me or seen the vehicle until they actually get it, right? And that's what we do well. We pride ourselves in that. So Jeremy kind of took off on us right away, right out of the gate. Of course, it's going to be sub-zero, and he's heading down to the sunshine. So anyways, this is kind of a brief episode of the Motorhood Podcast. I always want to say the Motorhood, but it's just Motorhood.
Well, it was the same thing. I'm like, Facebook was originally called the Facebook, and then they just dropped the. So now it's just Facebook.
Right. So that wraps episode 2. And again, Jeremy will be back from Scottsdale and Barret-Jackson, and he's going to have all kinds of stories to tell, and we're going to talk about some cool cars that he found while he was down there.
God, I hope so, because, we need some more cars in here.
Right. And remember, what do we always leave people with? When in doubt, gas it.
Oh, I thought it was smash it. Oh, gas it. Yeah,
there we
gas
go.
it.
Just gas it.